Good morning, Bella Vista. This is J.B. Portillo here with Mayor Peter Christie.
Morning.
We're going to wrap today like we always do.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So let's start off with some really good stuff called the 2022 budget.
Yes, it's that time of year when all the department heads get together and the finance director and myself, and we go through this very, very detailed process. It starts in August.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get council approval in December. This is going to be a bit of a trying year. The expenses so far, year over year, have increased by 9%. And the drivers are, there's a 6% inflation that we're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And we have to have some salary adjustments because you're hearing about people that are no longer working, they quit. For example, the city of Fayetteville is looking for 22 police officers at the moment, and they threw in a $10,000 bonus and it didn't work. So we have to make sure that our people are being properly compensated. Plus, we have to keep the growth in mind, and you and I have been talking about growth for years.
Yes.
So we're asking for 3 more police officers and 3 more firefighters. But we have about a $940,000 gap that we have to close. A lot of that is because I think we chatted about the census once before. Yeah, we grew by 3.5% over 10 years, but other communities grew faster. So our percentage of the Benton County sales tax has gone down. And that's a hole of $810,000. So that's the main problem that we've got to solve. So we showed this to council at the work session this past Monday. And Kim did a great job. She's our finance director. And we also took them through the capital budget as well, because we always have to have 25% of unrestricted income on hand just in case. And we're flush with cash right now, which is good. But you don't want to spend your cash on continuing expenses like operation expenses to try and close that gap.
Right.
You want to keep it for capital projects that are one-offs, and you have to be looking 5 years out. So we still have a lot of work to do. We're still planning to put in the sand and salt storage unit on the west side. There are vehicles that have to be replaced. We run them to about 120,000 miles, and then we turn them over. And so there's a great deal of churn right now as far as the budget is concerned. The next time council will see it will be the work session in November. And we'll probably have a little more tweaking. We'll know for sure by then what our health increase is going to be. Cigna is our current carrier, and they're talking about a 5% increase. But there's another carrier that wants our business, and they're basically saying the same rates as we're paying now. Oh. Which sounds attractive. But it's a bait and switch.
Yeah,
right?
What are you giving up?
Yeah, and also you bite and you go for the 1 year, and then bang, you have a dramatic increase on the second year that you might not have had with your first carrier, and so that's the healthcare game that we have to play every year as well. But hopefully all that is going to be resolved. Every city, including ourselves, had a salary study done this past year for every single position by an outside third party. And that's why we have to be very, very mindful of these salary adjustments across the board.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a challenge, but we will get there. I have a very good team. I'm blessed to have some excellent people.
Yes.
And so we will solve it and still carry on and still manage the growth.
Of course you will. That's what you do. Okay, so I noticed the other day that I drove by the fire station that's almost finished because the doors were not there. I noticed, I was talking to the chief the other night, and he says, well, we got the doors, but they didn't give us any glass in the doors. So anyway, that's kind of a lead in to where we stand on these bond projects.
Sure, well, let me start with the fire station. Yeah, you're right. They shipped the doors, but they didn't have any glass in them, so we put plexiglass in just as a placeholder to make sure that, you know,
yeah,
rain doesn't get in and whatnot. real problem is they shipped the doors, but they only shipped enough springs for 3 instead of 6.
That's right. He said no hardware, or
Yeah,
not enough
yeah,
hardware.
There's not enough hardware. So that may mean I have another interesting conversation with their CEO in New York City. I will tell you, it doesn't always pay to go with the cheapest vendor.
Yeah.
But it's a struggle, but we will get there. In the meantime, the cabinets are going in, the electrical's all finished, the floors are in, there's carpets in all 6 bedrooms, and next will be the appliances, and then the furniture once it gets cleaned up inside first, of course. And so we're still moving forward. We had hoped to open it 1st of October, but the doors are holding us up. And the good news is we don't have to purchase any more equipment, because we've done that in anticipation of this. All we have to do is just simply deploy. But until we get those doors up and running, it's going to be a bit of a challenge.
So we don't know what the opening date is right now. You're not going to
No.
say, because then you might have to eat your words or something.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
heaven forbid the springs may be sitting in one of those boats
Oh, I
off Long
know.
Beach in California.
Yeah.
It's not good right now. The whole supply chain thing is, you see it every day
Yes.
on the news. It's just a mess.
Yes.
And
Yeah, it truly is.
on the fire training, we've been dealing with Cooper on a piece of land, and I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. We're talking to them. It's up by the animal shelter, and but part of it's in a floodplain. We're just going to have to weigh the pros and the cons, and just continue to look at it. Luckily, the fire training tower of all 3 projects is the easiest to build, so I'm not particularly worried at this point. The public safety building is coming along nicely. Part of the capital budget, the chief is asking for $599,000. That's primarily for furniture, because there were a lot of things that were not in the initial plan that they hit. And you always have contingencies.
Yes.
And those contingencies have been not completely eroded. There's still some there. But we don't want to completely drain them for furniture.
Right.
So we'd rather, we're flush with cash, let's go and get the furniture outside of the bond. We are in the middle of trying to get some more easement space for the 8-inch main so that we can connect with the POA.
I thought that was settled.
Oh, yes, there's no problem with the water, and there's no problem with the POA or Cooper. The problem is the easement itself is not big enough or wide enough for the 8-inch main, because there's a sewer line going up there, and Centerton also has a smaller pipe going up there. Some people say, well, why don't you just cancel Centerton and just use POA water for everything? Because you can't. It's against the law. Each water district acts alone. You cannot have 2 water districts competing by law, unless the dominant one, which is Centerton, does not have the capacity for fire suppression, say. So then you can have somebody else come in and connect, as we're doing with the POA. But you can't use the POA water for everyday use. It has to be Centerton. So the Centerton line goes up, and then there's a sewer line that goes up as a result of putting in the street back in 2016. And the problem is, state law says you have to have so much space between drinking water lines and sewer lines. And then we're going to put a very large 8-inch main in for fire suppression. There's not enough room. So we've been talking to the landowners, and they've all been agreeable so far to try and help us out.
Good.
So I don't think that's going to be a showstopper at all. They've just about finished moving all the earth, and I expect they'll start running the pipes and everything underground before they start to pour the slab. So it's moving along. It's right on target. We're still looking for probably opening in December of next year.
Okay.
So it is the most complex and frankly the most costly. So we want to do it right, because you don't get a second chance with these things at all.
Well, and you promised it'll be good for 30 years.
Yes, that's right. And so again, It's managing the growth.
Right.
So as we talked about before, there will be certain sections where there'll be nobody working in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want future mayors or councils scratching their heads saying, why didn't they plan it? Now we're going to have to do something, and it may not be the best of the times. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So make hay while you can,
Yeah.
and just plan properly, and that's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's all exciting stuff. I mean, a lot of things are happening right now. It's it'll be interesting to see how it all comes out.
Oh, it'll be fine in the
Yeah.
end, and we'll be a lot stronger and a better community for it. You know, we're already talking about the refurbishing of Fire Station Number 1 after the police leave, so we have an empty building.
Yeah.
And we have to put more bays in down there, more equipment. We have to get another ladder truck, so that's in the 5-year plan. I think it's in 23 or 24 that we're going to have to buy it. And that's an expensive piece of equipment. That's $1.5 million.
So let's talk just a minute so people remember, or for the first time hear this. The expansion where the police department is now, that's just going to become a larger fire department?
That'll be a complete fire department. So the plan is, after the police move, to gut that building. That building was a former POA administration building. And the fire administration will be on the top floor, and the living quarters for the firefighters on the bottom floor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then the current middle section, which is the 3 bays plus fire administration and living quarters. The fire administration and living quarters will be torn down because we have to put in more bays.
Mm-hmm.
The current bays are going to have to be enlarged because they're not up to International Fire Code. They were built a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll gut and raise City Hall, where City Hall goes. It might go where the court is, because the court's going to move with the police
Oh,
into the new section. But that'll be something the next mayor will have to figure out. But we are looking to the future for a 5th fire station, which is probably going to have to be down in the southwest corner. There's been a lot of growth down there because of the bypass, and there's more and more new homes going up. And in fact, Chief Sims has plotted out stations 5, 6, 7, and 8.
oh my goodness.
So we're really planning into the future.
Yeah.
That's probably a good 10 to 15 years away. But you know, you look at the population extrapolation. It was in the paper about 2 weeks ago, and they're saying that we'll be at 50,000 by the year 2035, and that's just about what our strategic plan said as well.
Yes.
So we are going to continue to grow.
Have you noticed any noticeable change in the traffic since 49 opened?
Very much so. It has dropped,
Yes.
but we did not see any decrease at all in tax revenue, as some people had feared, because what I told those that were concerned about it is the trucks didn't stop.
No.
And the commuters don't stop. They've
No.
got their morning cup of coffee, and they're trying to get to Tyson to go to work.
That's right.
And they do not shop for groceries on the way back. They're going to get closer to their home up in Missouri, and they'll buy their groceries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did ask some of the merchants down there to start tracking their sales and see if they're increasing. Because my supposition is there are people who just did not want to fight with the traffic at all and refused to shop in that downtown area.
Yep.
And it's working.
Yep.
I won't tell you who the merchants are, but they're telling me, and they're showing me the increases. They're good increases.
Good.
So people are shopping locally. Thank you. Don't go to Jane, to Walmart if you can avoid it.
Yes.
Shop locally.
Yes.
So I think we're going to see a boost in all the businesses in that general area, which is good.
But you know, there seems to be, just from observing, it seems kind of like here in this area where the public safety building is going, a lot of things are kind of moving this way. I mean, it's not the city center, but it's going to be a very active corridor, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If we can get it up to 15,000 a day, which is busy, there is a possibility of being able to get a grocery store up here. That's what all the grocery stores are looking for. If you haven't got traffic at 15,000 or better, they're just not interested. And of course, the ideal space would be where the craft fair is. And so then what do you do with the craft fair? You know, there's always that tumble effect. But I know that there are certain grocery stores that are interested,
Good.
but we need to get the count up. What I am observing on 279 is an increase in the semis,
Yes.
because they have figured out that they can now cut across from Oklahoma. They can come down the bypass, then they can get off the bypass and cut through here, and they can get over to Missouri. And I kind of suspected that would happen. I talked to Dick Trammell about it quite a bit when he was the commissioner of the RDOT group, and I've talked to Mayor Maddox in Gravett. He's seen a remarkable increase in semis going right through his town, and he's finding that a little worrisome. So I can understand his angst, because we lived with it for so long.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
As far as it goes here, it's nice not to see the big trucks. You see the occasional one. The traffic has certainly gone down, because for the most part, it's us. It's Bella Vista residents.
And if they could just finish the rest of what used to be the circle, that's a little scary.
Yeah, they lost a week last week with all the rain. As our slurry people, you know, the guys who are working on the streets, they didn't do anything last week because of all the rain.
Yeah.
So they're behind. They had hoped that by the middle of October they would have that whole exit cleaned up and ready to go. I was down there yesterday talking to the project manager. They're putting in the nice decorative brick and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they're almost done. But he still doesn't know exactly what date they're going to open it.
That traffic flow is scary right now. I'm hoping they're going to do some better marking. It's
I think people
fun.
get intimidated too by the barrels.
I don't know.
The red barrels.
I don't know. I'm talking about when it's okay to turn this way. It's like, okay, is this the chicken lane or what? You know. But anyway, it'll all work out.
Yes, it'll all work
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, you want to take a quick break?
Let's do that.
All right, we'll be right back, folks. Okay, we're back, and now for some really exciting things. I know many of you out there have been asking about these, so I'm glad to see them on your agenda for today.
Yeah, I thought we'd break sort of from tradition and just go to frequently asked
Ask questions,
Because
exactly.
I've been out and about, as I normally am, all through the community, and these are the usual questions that are popping up, so I
Yes.
thought we'd just address them.
Thank you. So let's start with that area by the vet clinic across from Mercy Way.
Right. So that's Cooperland, and part of it is in a floodplain. The part where there's no rock is in a floodplain. So they have applied to FEMA to get permission to fill it in. They were cutting back that wall over at the bypass, and so there was an opportunity for Cooper to get big chunk of rock for fill at a reasonable price. I don't know what the payment was. Maybe it was for free, because I'm sure they were glad just to get rid of it. So he stockpiled. He asked us if they could do it, and we said sure. And they tell me that they have someone who's interested in purchasing the land. What they will do with it, I do not know. There's nothing in front of the Planning Commission because it's far too early yet.
Yeah.
And FEMA is not known for speed.
No, they're not.
So, you know, it could be years, but I hope it's not. I hope they move quickly, and I hope they give permission so that then they can push it all in, they can smooth it out, and then hopefully a new owner will come in and bring some more business to us.
So the reason all the trees were being cleared that everybody was kind of worried about is they were preparing for this?
Correct. That's right.
Okay.
So what they did was Emery Sapp is the main contractor for the bypass. And they're also doing the two bridges on 340. And they needed a staging area. And so CCI said, okay, well, we've got the former Town Center West. You can do that. And in return, we'd like you to clear this section of land and get some rock. And I mean, that's a perfectly good business deal.
Yeah, it is.
Smart.
It is.
And so that's what's happening. And so Emery Sapp is the one who is probably going to push it all over the place and get it, you know, into position once FEMA gives the nod, and I hope they do give the nod.
You know, it makes a layman who doesn't understand all the flood stuff. What happens to that water? Doesn't it just move somewhere else and cause problems? Or?
No, you're actually covering up the water table.
Oh.
And it has to be so many feet up. It's very, very intricate how FEMA actually does the calculations, and it has to be so many feet above, you know, this place and that place. We ran across it once before when T.H. Rogers was rebuilding. Part of their land is in a floodplain, and we had to spend a lot of time looking where are they going to place the buildings, because it's very expensive, because you have to build up. And I can remember Jonathan Kennedy, who's the CEO of T.H. Rogers over in Oklahoma. He and I, looking at these floodplain maps at City Hall, trying to position, it was almost like a Monopoly game. Okay, where does the hotel go?
Yeah.
But so we have been through this a number of times, and I'm hopeful that FEMA will give the nod, and that CCI has success in selling it, and the new person coming in will do something positive.
Yes. So I think that kind of, there was something, or maybe that's later, activity across from City Hall at former West. Is that what you were talking about, or is that later on in the agenda we're going to talk about?
Well, there's actually two things happening over there. There's the staging area for SAP, and they really haven't put a lot there.
Okay.
You might have seen that there were some cut tree trunks that were there.
Yeah.
And that was an agreement that they had with the electrical company. Just
Carroll.
Carroll Electric, thank you. And then, I don't know if people have noticed, if you're southbound on Lancashire, and they've got the detour here, okay, and Cooper's going up there. If you look straight across, there's the POA pump house that's up on rocks. There's activity behind that. And what is happening is, at the very back of what used to be Town Center West.
Where the newspaper used to be.
Yeah, on the far, far end.
Okay.
What they've done is they've created a road using more of the crushed rock from the bypass, and they've built it all the way down to the creek. So they've cleared part of the forest out, and they're putting in a new water line.
Oh.
Because the current water line is actually underneath that bridge that's near City Hall that's going to be replaced. And that line is old, and they've had some leaks, because I can remember on at least 3 occasions when City Hall didn't have any water. And so they've done the right thing. They've said, okay, we're just going to no longer mess with the bridge thing. And so they have put a whole new water main down. And so if you see activity down there, I saw a front-end loader actually in the creek yesterday afternoon, and he was putting rock up because he didn't want the erosion to continue. And so it looks like they're doing it properly and doing a great job.
Well, I kind of skipped over some things
Yeah, that's
because
all
you
right.
started talking,
Sure.
because so many people want to know what's going on over there, and
Yep.
you're watching it every day as you get in your car to
That's
go
right.
home. So,
And I get a little nosy too, so I'll drive over and I'll poke around. see what's happening.
I don't blame you. You can do that and get away with it. Okay, so then let's talk about the status of the Mercy Way Bridge replacement.
Right. Just so everybody knows, that's a bridge that was built in 1997, I believe. And it probably should have been a 4-lane to begin with because of all the growth that we've seen on the east side. So the previous administration, Mayor Anderson, realized that they're going to have to widen it. So this has been a project that's been going on since 2014. And that is normal. I mean, the bypass started 37 years before it opened.
Yeah.
And so we have been doing a lot of activity. Burns McDonald is the main engineering firm that we've hired, and they've been working on it, oh gracious me, ever since I became mayor, so that's almost 7 years. And because it's quite complicated, and so we finally went to bid. for the construction. And we had bids that were as high as 7.4 million, and the lowest bid was 5.6. And that came in from Manhattan Road and Bridge. They're the ones that built the bridge in the old turnabout, you know, where they built that new intersection for the
Yes.
bypass that we were just talking about.
Yes, yes.
And that really long bridge that goes over the top. Manhattan built that one.
Okay.
And so the next step here is it goes to council for approval on Monday night. I believe they will approve it because our exposure is very little. Most of this is being paid through federal and state grants.
And you know, that's something else that comes up all the time. What is the city doing with that bridge? And we keep trying to, I try to tell them, and I want to make it clear to everybody that that's really federal and state. That's not you.
The city is, future exposure is about 300,000.
Okay.
Because some of the grants are 80-20. So they pay 80% and we pay 20.
Okay.
But our exposure is much less than the actual cost of it. And all those grants are handled by Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning.
Okay.
So it funnels through there.
Okay.
So once council has approved it, then it goes to RDOT for approval. And that can take a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we've been working on is we have to get easements because it's going to widen the road, it's going to widen the bridge. We're going to fix the intersection at 71. We're going to eliminate the right-hand turn lane because there's so many accidents there all the time.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So we're going to just make it a proper turn right at the light. And that hopefully will decrease the accidents. So that means that we need extra easements from CVS, who has agreed. And the way that that works is we actually hire a professional appraisal company. And they go out and they work with the engineers to determine just how much we need from each owner. They appraise and then they make an offer. Mm-hmm. And all have been accepted with the exception of one piece of land on the far east side that is owned by Cooper. And then another piece of land that we need that's owned by an investment group that has the gas station. And they're asking for more money than we are able to pay because we are not permitted by law to pay above the appraised value. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to move to condemnation. It'll go in front of council as two resolutions this coming Monday. And I believe council will approve it. Then our lawyer will go to court and we start the process.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I hope you don't have to do that, but in case you do.
I hope we don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to do what you got to do.
Right. So we'll probably start building that bridge next year. It'll be probably 18 months. So as Dick Trammell used to say, orange barrel means progress. So I always try to be positive.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Okay, so the last thing I think of is the bridge replacement on 340. Man, there is a major looking road going in there. How are you going to jump up? No.
Yeah, I've been wondering the same thing. And
that's the one going around the curve when you turn on Chelsea, but it's right there, and it's like
that's the detour for the.
And it's
the
a detour.
Creek.
I mean, it looks like it's going to be a permanent structure.
No, it'll all be ripped up. And
I
taken
know,
out.
but wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about that.
Well, they lost a week as well. They were hoping to pave it last week, and that didn't happen. I see that they still haven't started paving it. I've had the same concern. There's this jump, how do you get up there?
Yeah.
And Emery Sack
Running
says,
start.
don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it.
Okay.
All right, I'll believe you. And then they've also begun work just around the curve. Mm-hmm. And the road is actually going to go there as well as they're going to have another staging area there too. And so the new bridge that's going there, unlike the Tanyard Creek Bridge, is about the same. In fact, it's a little shorter, but it'll be 4 lanes and there'll be more lanes of traffic. So they have to widen it and get ready for it. So that's why they're down there clearing that whole area.
Gotcha.
And they're putting fill in because that too is in the floodplain. Mm-hmm. So they have to build it up. And the Tanyard Creek is still supposed to be finished in the spring of next year.
Okay.
And that bridge is going to be twice as long as the one that's there now.
Okay.
And then, yeah, they'll rip all that detour out, the same as they did when they put the tunnels in for, the trails in the central area, Little Sugar. They always put a detour around and paved it. It's a little rough, but you get by. And then they rip it all out and they reseed it. And because that's a temporary construction easement that they have from the POA.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit back and watch. On both ends. And maybe it's to keep people from getting on it now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But because they're very good. They're very good. And I know they know what they're doing.
They do.
So, hey, anything else we need? Trash rates.
Yeah, the trash rates for 2020 will be in front of council again this Monday. We're bound by contract that was signed by the previous administration to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, for sewer trash and water.
Okay.
And that was at 3.7%. So we decided to wait to see if it would come down, and it did by 20 basis points. So the trash rate will go up by 3.5%. So the monthly rate for next year will be $15.04, which translates into the quarterly billing of $45.12.
Okay.
So it's not an atrocious increase at all, and I'm glad we waited because 20 basis points is 20 basis points. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So those rates will, if approved by council, and I have every indication to suggest that it will, then it'll go into effect January 1st.
Okay.
And then we have a couple of surprises that I haven't mentioned. The first is, and I think a lot of people know this already, is that the POA is going to start serving pizza at the Highlands. That's wonderful.
We're going to vote on that.
Are you?
Yes.
I think that's great.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Tom and I were speaking to a dinner appreciation for the ambassadors last week.
Yes.
Friday, I think.
Yes.
And as part of his speech, he, said this, and I thought, wow, that's great.
It is. They finally figured out, I think, with the Highlands, what works there.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And then the other piece of new business, the Legion has a home. The current building is being used for something else.
I know, and I know about that, but the Legion has a home.
No, I'm sorry. What I mean to say is that the Legion is going to be used as a restaurant.
Oh, okay. I thought because I know the Legion was moving.
They're still looking.
They're still looking.
They're still looking.
And something about, not Seekers, but it's something to do, it's a pub.
Shredder's Pub.
Shredders, and the Shredders is something to do with bicycling and dangerous mountain biking stuff. And
to shred your tires and everything else.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something like Peddler's Pub, if you've ever been to it in Bentonville.
Yeah.
So that'll be a nice addition. So now, for those who say that the trails aren't bringing any business in, it's brought in Fat Tire. It's brought in this business. There's another pub going in up on Oldham Road.
Yep.
And then there's a whole bunch of land being purchased on the west side of 71, and we'll see what that's going to turn into.
Oh, that's exciting. You can't say any more about that right now, but someday you will.
Yes.
Okay, maybe next month.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, well, as always, I really look forward to this. This catches me up and helps me dispel rumors sometimes out in the community,
Yes. Well, I just have one request from all residents. When you can, please shop local.
Yes.
Support your local businesses. It's very, very important. It keeps jobs here. From a selfish perspective, we get the tax, but the tax goes back and helps you. So please, if you can, always shop local.
And buy off the internet.
And buy off the internet,
Because
yes.
you get the tax from that as
right.
well. Don't worry, I help you out a lot there. It's very convenient to call Amazon and have it there in the next day.
That's right.
It's
That's
kind of
right.
They know what they're doing too. All right. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. See you next
I'm
month.
looking forward to City Council next week.
Good.
And whatever you're up to next.
Surprise.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next month. Thanks again for coming.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.